What's your favorite drink and snack for hunkering down on rain or rough weather? I don't do anything special when that happens. I've never made it an occasion. I didn't know that was a thing until later in life, where some people would be like, oh, when the power's out, we take out flashlights and start playing board games. I didn't know that was like people make it a thing to make it fun or something. If the power went out, I would just be like, I'm gonna play on like my Game Boy or something until it runs out of battery, right? Or I'm gonna read a book or something, which I already did anyway. I would just do it by a light. I would light candles, so I didn't use batteries of any kind. But I don't know. I didn't realize that was like much of a thing. And all the food I ate was just the normal food I ate anyway. Ebook readers can last ages. Yeah, I hopped on the train finally. I like physical books, but I hopped on the train of getting a Kindle a couple years ago. I got the Oasis, the one that's like super thin on one side and slightly heavier on the other. And when you hold it in your hand, it feels so nice to hold. You get no arm fatigue, even though, holding a little thing in your hand shouldn't fatigue you, but when you're sitting there reading for hours, you're going for a long session, you notice it, right? So I can hold my arm up with that thing and not even notice it because of the balancing of it. Oh my God, that thing is incredible. And I like to read a lot, but I don't want to own every book I read. I don't want to buy every book and physically have it in here. I love the idea of having a library, but I just want to own stuff that I might reread. If I'm just trying stuff out, I'm not trying to buy every single one. So, yeah, I have that thing and I love that thing. What are you reading these days? I've been rereading some stuff. I've been bouncing between a lot of things. I just try things that have been coming out on, by smaller authors on Amazon's marketplace. And I just try them to see if I can find a good smaller author, to be honest. I've been keeping up with one that's on my list that I'm about to read is actually what's his name? The author of Aragon. He released another book kind of in the series. And I was like, okay, I'll try it, I'll try the series. Why not? All right, I had read the series previously, but it was like one of the other characters, I don't want to spoil, but the counterpart to the main character, they released a book about him. So I'll probably read that soon. See if it's good. But I mostly read sci-fi and fantasy. I'm gonna do a full Discworld reread. That's planned after I get through a couple of books. I've been reading sparingly though. I don't go through books as fast as I used to. I just do it bit by bit. You start Discworld with Color of Magic or another arc? I always do Color of Magic first. I always do the Rincewind stuff first, and then the Weird Sisters and City Watch. Those are the three that I'll always start with, and then I go through the other stuff. City Watch has a lot of books in it, though, so I tend to not do it as one of the earlier ones chronologically. I do it as the third. But yeah, I feel the Weird Sisters, all the stuff about them, the witches, right? I think their series of books is really nice to read early because he wrote a lot of those early on. So, did you read Twilight, Don't Lie? I did. I had a friend who was super into it, and I was like, okay, I'll read it. I thought the books were terrible, but I read them. My friend really wanted to talk about the books, and I read fast, so I said, all right. There were sections of those books that were well written, but I just felt like the characters were just so bad sometimes, just so bad. It just was like a fan fiction, right? The whole thing, the whole series felt like a fan fiction, so I... Now, to be fair, some fanfics are super well written, but I didn't like it. Stephanie Meyer made a gender bent version that had way better writing. Sometimes when authors write romance, I think they should write it from a perspective that they have. So those books are a girl and then she's the object of these dudes' affections. So the way this author was writing these male characters felt really unrealistic to me. Some people can write that well, some people can't. So I really can believe that and picture that if she wrote it the other way around, where there's a male character and he was the object of these girls' affections, that she'd write those women a lot better. I notice a lot of male fantasy authors write women really poorly, and it's not disrespectfully. I don't want to say that, right? They're trying to be respectful, but the way they write them is just so weird. They'll say something and I'll be like, that's not... No, that wouldn't have happened. And then I appreciate when those authors just don't try too hard to write in the thoughts of too many women when they know that they're just maybe not gonna get it. I think an author that does that well is R.A. Salvatore. He's the one that writes within the D&D universe, and he has his good old dark elf character that everyone knows about. He'll sit there and not write that many female characters into his books, especially not in a way that is romantic or whatever. And he's said it before where he's like, look, I think I can write these characters, but if I'm trying to make them a certain type of character and I feel like I cannot really grasp that thing, I'm just not going to write that character at all. I'm just not going to do it. And I really appreciate that. Yeah, he knows his limits. It's so much better that way. It is so much better that way. I wonder what the remedy should be for male authors trying to write female characters. Maybe get a female editor. Yeah, someone mentioned it earlier, but Raymond Feist's Empire series having a female co-author helped so much. I have seen some people do female co-authors or female editors and things. That way they have someone come in and critique that. And usually it's someone, who's good at writing themselves, or they are properly a co-author. And I think running it by a lot of people first helps. Because some authors don't have that issue. They can write anyone from any perspective and it works. But, some can really do it. Some can really do it. I actually think the way Paolini wrote his character Aragon, right, that young adult series, I actually think the way he wrote the female characters in there was pretty good, because that character was just fumbling with girls over and over because it was his coming of age story. He was a teenager through a lot of it. And you could just feel that like the main object of his affections was someone who's much older than him, and saw him as just like a practically a baby for most of it until he matured. And she was just like, all right, kid. I feel like he did a good job of writing that character from this teenager's perspective, being like, wow, she's so cool. And then the girl's like, okay, and just goes and does her work. Like he didn't write from her perspective. He just showed her being like, all right, kid. It was really well done because it felt very realistic. I wonder how many female authors have issues writing from the male perspective. I think plenty of them do. I think, you know what it is? I think a lot of them write well for a male character if that male character is the type to be like very open about their feelings, tell the girl they like in the books everything they're thinking, here's how I feel emotionally. They'll tend to write male characters that are much more emotionally in tune with themselves. But then in reality, a lot of dudes, even if they are like that internally, they don't say that. Even with like their significant other, they still won't do that. So I think that's where a lot of female authors don't get it right, is like in reality, they're not going to be like that. And maybe they are like that on the inside a little bit more, but they're not going to say that stuff to you. Like, not all of them, but a good number of them. I think a lot of female authors, though, do have a little bit of a better perspective on the internal thoughts of the characters. It's just the resulting actions that they get wrong. And then a lot of the male authors, it's the opposite. I feel like they tend to get the actions of the female characters right, but like what they're thinking and why they're doing it, they get wrong a lot, right? So they're just kind of writing what they see in their own experience, but their interpretation tends to be off. So same issue, just different ways in different directions, right? That's what I feel. And some authors just get it right. You ever reread books you first read when you were a teen? Oh yeah, I like rereading stuff. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it completely ruins a book entirely. Completely ruins stuff. Some books you should just leave in the past. I think actually, since we were talking about it, Aragon is one that holds up well because when you read it as an older person, you're just like, haha, look at this stupid dumb kid. And reading it with that perspective of an adult is really nice. Discworld always reads better and better and better and better as you go. I'm trying to think. There's some, I'm looking at my shelf now because my shelf is over there. There's some I've reread where I've been like, yeah, this is really not it. I don't know. The ones that aren't good to reread, I don't really have on my shelf. As I'm looking, I kind of have the good ones for the most part. I think anything that isn't good to reread, I've just gotten rid of. Your mother reread Catcher in the Rye. Oh, it's one of my most hated books. Cannot stand the character, cannot stand the plot. There isn't even a plot. I get what the theme is. There's a theme. There's a motif. There's no real plot line. There kind of is, but not really. And I don't care about the lessons from it. I gain nothing from reading that book. I only lose time to it. That's how I feel about Catcher in the Rye. I don't like it.